I started looking at the research, and I started seeing that a lot of studies have been done. And one thing that's clear is that no matter which of the 4 programs we're talking about, they're all successful. They're all making a difference in student success at the college level. That's clear if they're all being taught the way they're supposed to be taught. That's deal with student and teacher hearsay on that issue from school to school, but that's kind of an unavoidable problem. But looking at, and I am really not very familiar with International Baccalaureate. I don't know of any school system in Rhode Island that's doing it. So, and it certainly has not, I have not crossed that path in my work. So, but I do, basically my interest was in the conversation among people who were teaching AP and concurrent enrollment. So Jenny said, well, why don't we just take a look at all of these and see what people are saying about them. So, and one thing I realized was that when we're talking about dual and concurrent enrollment, we're talking about students working with college credit and high school credit at the same time, whether it's in the high school or by taking a college class. And that by definition, when we're talking about the baccalaureate and the AP program, we're talking about taking an exam at the end to show success, and then that success being able to be transferred into college credit in some cases. And I can speak testimonial from my department. We don't. So that raised another question. If we don't recognize AP credit, who does and who doesn't, and why and why not? And just so more and more questions have been coming up as I've been going on with this.
Do you accept dual credit?
We totally accept dual and concurrent,
but not
because it's a class.
it's the same teacher teaching the same.
In some cases, right? So I can give you the history. So let me just say, up until 3 years ago, our department allowed students who got a 4 or a 5 on the AP test to bypass writing 104. They didn't have to take it. They didn't get credit for it, but they didn't have to take the class. That was the buy. And then that changed to they could take a placement test. And that changed to, and I don't know the politics of this, so I don't know why this happened. That changed to not at all. Nobody. So now everyone takes writing 104. But we have 1,000 students taking writing 104 in our high schools. So, and some of them, in like your case, some of the high schools, those students are the same students. Some of the high schools, they're very different students. And that raised another question. So looking at the definitions of the 4, I think everyone here is familiar with the definitions of the 4. And the research, I put together some questions, some thought questions. I put together an Etherpad, and you can go on there at any time, and you can take a look and join the conversation there asynchronously too. So that being said, I guess I just want to hear. And this is not a debate about which is better. I just want to make that clear. My goal today was to deliberate around the issues of the different programs, how they can complement each other, how they can conflict with each other, but certainly not to have a discussion about which one we think is better than another. I have my values on that. I have my opinions, and I don't have any intention of sharing those today.
So one thing in Oregon is, or one thing that that I discuss with my teachers a lot is that how our public schools decide to accept the AP credit varies greatly, and they know via the dual enrollment course, they know what credit they're going to get in college. And so I mean, looking at the Oregon schools, for a 4 on a Spanish exam, you can get 103, Spanish 103, 201, and 202 at Western, whereas at Portland State, you're getting 201 through 203, and at a different school, you're getting, different courses. So one thing that my teachers struggle with is which one to offer, if they can get more credits, but on the other end, if you dual enrollment, the credits are more guaranteed. At least the students know what they're earning credit for. So that's something that, it's kind of a struggle.
That seems to be the most obvious thing in my mind when I first started hearing about this conversation. But
I would even see, like, I would even say that the acceptance of concurrent or dual enrolled credit is shifting among four-year universities. So that's kind of one of my big questions. We're an early college high school. We offer no honors or AP or IB. My children are in IB middle school, but you know, our kids get their honors credits through their college classes that they take on the college campus. But some of the private schools, prestigious schools, are saying, or like picking and choosing. They're saying, no, we're not going to take any transferable credits, or we're only going to take transferable credits that you didn't use towards graduation requirements. And some of our top achieving students, the discussion is coming up, is it, are having all these college units putting us at a disadvantage? We know it could in terms of federal financial aid and being capped out that way. But like, how are the more competitive universities viewing concurrent enrollment, and how are they making their decisions on whether they prefer a student that has college credit versus AP credit? That's why I wanted to come here.
so UConn has kept current a study that they've done where they survey the colleges and universities around the country to see how they're accepting dual concurrent enrollment classes, and they post it on their site.
So we spoke to them this morning. They do it every year. 85 to 87% is, I believe, what they're willing to publish. They believe that there's a higher success rate because their students, if they're advocates, can go into a program, speak with a department as they're transferring into a college or accepted into a college, and those don't actually get recorded usually, because it's not like the college is responding saying they'll accept it. The kid is advocated and they've actually been able to get them. So they believe it's slightly higher, but I think right now they're willing to publish 85 to 87%.
Denise, you've had a couple of those.
Yeah, we've had very good luck in the Northeast. None of the Ivy League colleges will take any college credit, as somebody mentioned earlier. But for the most part, if they do not take our course, which is a writing course, if they do not take it for freshman comp, they'll often take it for an elective in communications. So it works out. As long as the kids are getting credit, they don't care which avenue the credit goes down. And oftentimes, there's probably been a number of kids in Florida and one of the southern states that Frank will have to send from the URI formal letterhead the syllabus, and that's when they will reconsider and give the kids credit, as opposed to the high school. Although we follow the college syllabus very, very tightly, they like to see it on the letterhead of the university.
We've done that, and I guess if our students are, when they're accepted into an Ivy, I don't think they care whether their units transfer or not. Typically, those programs are going to pay for a student to complete, but I'm more saying their ability to get into those schools. How are they perceived as students? Are they at an advantage or disadvantage to have college credits through those, through those?
Can I speak to that? Because I actually called Harvard admissions to have that conversation with them, and they said, please do not discourage your kids from taking any AP or honors way college credit courses, because we look at them as those courses were challenging, and we want to see the kids are challenging themselves. And so if the students go into it knowing they're not going to get credit, but it still bears weight for their admissions, that that they have challenged themselves. So that was right out of admissions at Harvard's mouth.
That's something that I've sort of encountered too, is from the perspective of the student when I have these conversations regarding, is dual credit right for me, or should I do AP or IB, whatever it is. So one of my ISDs, for example, our dual credit courses are GPA exempt. So it doesn't benefit them, but it's also not negative, for their GPA. But AP and IB affect their GPA and are actually on a 5.0 scale rather than a 4.0 scale. And so students are saying, well, dual credit's great because I know there's no big test at the end. So my success in this course is not going to be measured by this one day and this one test. And I get the actual experience. I get an actual college professor. But AP, on the other hand, I get a higher GPA, and I'm a salutatorian right now, and I'm trying to one-up the other guy, as well as it may be my Avid teacher that I had last year that's also teaching this, and I know them, and I know the people that are going to be in that class, and so the environment is a bit more hospitable compared to the unknown of a dual credit course. So it's a little different from the student perspective. They're like, yeah, it's great, but there's a little different. So it's almost a competitive environment for them, and so it makes it hard.
I was thinking though, when Allison was speaking, that what I'm hearing, and this is just kind of hearsay, I don't know, but anecdotal, thank you, is better than hearsay, I think, that colleges now are looking to see rigor. And like Harvard was saying, we don't necessarily say we're going to take those courses. Harvard's got their own program. It's a 4-year program. They don't take anything. But other highly academic schools are expecting academic rigor, and they're expecting to see that the students have challenged themselves. And so if those IB, AP, college, or sorry, CEP courses are the ones that offer that rigor, regardless of how you get the credit, that's the course that they're looking for. And so it's, you know, they may not get credit as, you know, 20 hours toward their final academic path, but if they don't take those courses in some path, then they haven't shown those upper tier classes, colleges, what they're looking for.
So what I'm hearing is, and I think that this is an important point to make, that rigor is being evaluated by quality points as opposed to college level work. Because certainly we take pride in the writing and rhetoric department as offering a quality freshman writing program, and that our writing 104 is of high caliber with high expectations with real outcomes, and we stay current with digital literacy and information literacy, and we work with all those goals. So certainly we feel that our students at URI aren't going to get a better writing program as an introductory writing class. But if they're going to get 5 quality points instead of 7 in high school, it doesn't mean they're going to, well, it may or may not mean that they're going to work any harder. And then that falls down to, again, instructor. And, you know, it gets kind of murky. So that's an interesting question. You know, that's an interesting point that you're making. I can see how, but with that effort was a very clear mandate that these classes were available to all students who would be successful in them, and not any one population. So I think that's a clear difference in how some of our schools. So based on based on teacher recommendation or GPA, any student, any high school student could take a college level class. Now, different schools are doing different things with that. Some classes are dual enrollment on campus, where they allow students as young as 9th graders to take a class. In our program, it's juniors and seniors only with a GPA of 3.0 or higher. And even that can be bypassed with a teacher or counselor recommendation, because any non-matriculated student can walk onto the campus and take writing 104. So we try to guide the students and the teachers to not set themselves and their students up for success. But other than that, so in many schools, and I know that's not the case in your school, Denise, there's some overlap, but in many schools, they're really catering to different populations, or there's some overlap.
I'm curious to hear a little bit more, because from our higher ed partners tell us a lot that, especially with AP Lang, that it's very formulaic, and that the OEAC standards that we follow in Oregon are kind of based on metacognition and revision, and that our higher ed partners are not huge fans of AP Lang, and they'd rather concurrent enrollment. So I'm curious, did any of that factor into your department's decision making?
Well, my department's an anomaly because our program started in 1978 and has grown. So we're really just a model that's kind of been built around at the university. Our college, our 4-year college, Rhode Island College, does something different. They're all early enrollment program. Slightly differently than ours. They get 4 credits per semester. They come out of the year with 8 credits in history, and I really don't even know what else, to be honest with you. But I know my godson came into URI with 11 credits, you know. And because I teach writing, the metacognitive is kind of obvious in the final portfolio. But also that one huge advantage that I've learned that my concurrent enrollment students have, I meet all the classes, I do an advising session with every class, is that they have writing in their arsenal when they get there, as opposed to my first semester students who are getting it concurrently with their classes being assigned, writing in other classes. So that's only from my perspective, though, and I can only speak to my class. I can tell you, I ran a dual enrollment program at a different college at one time. That was something totally separate.
And you touched on a point, because I think we're talking about credit, we're talking about interpretation of transfer of credit, but what is actually best for our students? Like, for those of you who have experienced it, where is it a concurrent dual enrollment, AP, IB? What is it that you see kids demonstrating the greatest amount of growth or best prepared for college?
I can just say I am from a community college in the northern suburbs of Chicago, and we have one high school district that has two high schools. One high school was the AP high school, and one high school was the dual credit high school. And I mean, it was literally divided like that. I mean, there were obviously other differences, but the superintendent has been approaching us over the last couple of years to say she has a lot of concerns about the way the AP program is going in the AP high school. So we're now also offering dual credit there. I feel that AP is a good fit for some students, dual credit is a good fit for some students, but I think that's, a really telling example of the same high school district is the same population of students. The high schools aren't split up by boundaries or anything, and their experience in the schools is that they prefer the dual credit.
The 5.0 grading scale goes a long way in towards biasing certain student populations to taking AP over dual credit.
And I will say that is not an issue in a lot of our schools, because many of our high schools are weighting dual credit the same as AP.
Oh, so we do that too. We have a list of all of our college courses that are eligible for high school honors. So I have access to that 5-point scale. I would say, I'm obviously partial, but they get early college or dual enrollment students get more college readiness skills, maybe the non-cognitive skills, self-advocacy, professional communication with instructors, learning how to navigate course catalogs, prerequisites, pathways, and maybe that's unique because we're actually on the campus itself, but we get feedback that when they're at their four-year universities, they are teaching their other freshman peers how to register, how to enroll, how to seek out support services, because they practiced it while they were in high school.
For first-gen students, that's really important.
Yeah, and almost half of our population are first generation.
When you talk about self-advocacy, transferability of courses, that's really only half the battle. It's the articulation of those courses to the degree plan at that institution. Because you could take English 1301 and then it transfers, but they count it as an English elective because it was a sophomore level class there, it's a junior level course, at the institution you're trying to get. So that's only half the battle. So when you're advocating for yourself, the actual curriculum components that were covered in that course, the dual enrollment course, are sometimes able to be a bit more universal, where you can fight for that class and say, well, we actually covered more material. An AP exam, it tests you on these subject areas, these particular content areas, and there's really no fighting.
I think it depends on the state. In Arkansas, all 35-hour general education core is standardized across all public institutions. So there's no issue with transferability for any gen ed course in Arkansas.
That is nice.
When I taught this class as a high school teacher, the class that I now supervise, we were not yet in the partnership with URI. So my students weren't getting college credit for it. But they were sending me messages saying, I'm so glad I took that class, because now I'm basically just learning the same thing over again, but I already have it, and I can write from my other classes. So I saw that benefiting before they were getting credit. So I stressed that with the students too. Yes, in a concurrent enrollment class, you may or may not get the credits depending on what school you go to, but you're still getting the knowledge. And the same thing with the AP students. You may or may not get the credits depending on the school, the department, the university, but you're still getting the knowledge. And trying to show them the intrinsic value of knowledge, obviously. You brought up a point. When the state started paying for our students, we had to come up with a whole new enrollment system. Our enrollment services got involved. All right, so we had a new partner, and we had we conferenced around how should we handle this. And I'm a big digital literacy person, as you can see, and I advocated that the students self-enroll, that they learn the system while they had the guidance of a high school teacher there, so they weren't like I was when I was a freshman, just thrown to the wolves and have to go talk to those people and all the services, And it's been a mess, but it's been a mess with a good cause.
That's actually what we're going through right now at our institution. Moving into self-registration for all the kindergarten students all at once.
I found it interesting today at lunch. We were talking about the importance of that freshman experience type class that you get when you go to a campus for the first time, and how to make that where it's kind of incorporated into the high school before the students even start taking a dual enrollment, because I think that's a piece that we forget. And it's not, I think they're educationally ready, but things like teaching, like say you did an 8th grade seminar class where your 8th graders that were coming into high school, things like how to communicate via email professionally. I mean, all those tacky things that we assume students can do, but we know they don't do, like check your email, like making those actual, trying to get that curriculum or that freshman experience and trying to integrate it in little pieces, either through middle school or a freshman level seminar. So before they take a dual class, they've had those kind of at least topics covered, even if it's not for credit, incorporating it in something else.
At Long Beach and at Long Beach City College, they developed a plan for enrollment that has the students in Long Beach Unified take they call it counseling one, and it's like a first year experience class. So that's part of a package that they've developed for entering juniors.
It's huge.
Our students are required to take a foundations course in their first year prior to taking their first college class.
Yeah.
Kind of related to what you were saying, just even sending a professional email. One of the things we've noticed in Comp 1 is our younger dual enrolled students kind of being prepared for the more mature subject matter that we may deal with in some of the readings that we have connected to composition and things like that. I can get a little, especially when they're,
If you don't train them for that, then I don't know how we expect it from them. We just assume they're ready to dual enroll because they got an active placer score or ACT score. They could just be a really smart high school student, but the other pieces are what's going to make or break them in a college class, even more than their intelligence.
I've been bulleting some of the comments that have been made, so I'll go through my bullets. One is about weighting. At our school, we do have 5.0 weighting scale for the higher classes, but the colleges reconfigure it to a 4.0 scale. So many of us are trying to get rid of the inflated scale. So kids just take these advanced courses because they want to, not because they're going to bump up their GPAs. So we think that's a more authentic student. Another bullet is the AP. I taught AP Lang and Comp for 2 years, and I very much enjoyed teaching that. But it is a year-long course. So I guess as much as I think it's a course that has great potential for learning, it's a year-long course, which is not exactly what a college course is. A college course is actually a one-semester course. So I get sometimes confused that colleges accept an AP course as a college course when it was really, in fact, a year-long. That said, U.S. World and News Report bases high schools' ratings on the number of AP courses they have in school. And that, to me, I wrote to U.S. News and World Report. I said, why don't we throw in concurrent and dual enrollment courses in there too, because they are actually following a college syllabus, and there is no AP supervisor. So the people, I submitted a syllabus and no one chased me around to make sure I was following my syllabus, but I do get chased around by the college to make sure I am following the college's syllabus. And so sometimes I do question, the last part about my AP questioning is, we have students who take the course but don't take the exam. And I question, why would a college recognize that if the student's not taking the exam? And then in fact, if the student takes the exam and only scores are 1 or a 2, and sometimes a 3, like I I feel as though there's some type of watering down that occurs with the way the AP can be perceived. As opposed to the college course, we are following outcomes, we're following a syllabus. So I guess those are my little bulleted notes about AP versus college credit courses. So, I don't know if I went too fast, but.
Thank you.
Does anyone who has blended classes, that knows the class could be taken for either the CEP credit or the AP credit, find that the teachers privilege one pathway over the other? How do you deal with that?
And
For our school, it's guidance counselors. I'll just throw that out there.
so we are very unique in that many of our dual enrollment classes are AP classes, and we actually have more oversight in AP by curriculum supervision within the district than we do. We've never had any university professors step onto our high school campus to observe or evaluate our dual enrollment courses. And so
Don't tell HLC.
And that's what I meant at the beginning when I said school by school. How do you measure that? But
so
in the ideal.
So I think and it really kind of varies to answer your question and to answer yours about what's best for the student, what does a teacher prefer? There's really, it's, I think, very teacher directed in that I play a big game as a parent.
What is it is teacher directed?
Student outcome. Okay. And preference to AP or dual enrollment. So we will have, when we overlap the two, we will have teachers that prefer dual enrollment because without a lot of oversight on what that syllabus looks like, that teacher has a lot more freedom than they do with the AP exam. So they don't want to be judged on the outcome of the AP exam. And so they encourage their students to not take the AP exam because they want to be a dual enrollment professor, even though their kids get 1s and 2s on the AP exam. So it's really trying to find a teacher and an instructor that believes in both outcomes if you're going to do an overlap, because you have to believe in the value of AP and the value of dual enrollment. And I like it because it is a balance. And if you have a teacher that believes in both, you get the best student outcome. And in knowing that, I have great insight because I have a junior in high school. And so I know exactly which courses I want my child to dual enroll and which courses I'm just going to pay $93 instead of $250 because she'll have success on the AP exam because it's that teacher's belief in which system. So kind of to wrap that up, it's very teacher driven as to success in the students.
I'm beginning an internal study at URI that's kind of a byproduct of this conversation, has made me curious. I am going to look at students at the end of freshman year of college, and I'm going to look at them in 3 groups: students who took AP in high school, students who took concurrent enrollment in high school, and they can't be the same population, and students who took neither. And I want to see where GPAs are. It's a very basic study. I'll be doing sample groups of 100. It's bare minimum research, valid research. And if any of you know of any research like that has been done, but I'm curious because I'm very curious to see what students who weren't in the top track of high school who went to college and did they do better than the students who didn't do the concurrent enrollment? And are they doing as well as students who were in the top track and did AP? So I'm really curious to see that. I mentioned earlier that I used to supervise a dual enrollment program. It was a gateway to college model. We weren't part of the Gateway Network, but it was a gateway to college model. So I was working with high school dropouts. And at the end of our second semester, we had 8 students on the dean's list. So that kind of thing really piques my interest about issues like this, trying to figure out, where it all stands and what we should be advocating.
When you are talking about that study and looking at those populations, I know in many of our high schools, AP is considered much better than dual credit. And so the top students go into AP, and then the lower level students, if they qualify for dual credit, they go into dual credit. So we're looking at, different populations of students being feeded into the courses.
That's what I was mentioning earlier about the 5.0 grading scale attracting a certain demographic of students. College Board has done a study, but they didn't include discussion of several confounding variables so that they could then have the results they wanted in their study.
Well, I mean, I've seen the discussion, some of the discussions from the College Board, but that's what started this conversation between Denise and I. And I mean, they have an agenda, obviously. But my agenda is just to try and find out what's best for students and what to advocate for, all around. And is there a way that, we can all get along?
I think there is one way. I mean, I think we have to provide all the pathways and find a fit for each student.
And what I like about AP is that it provides a national universality. There is not anything else currently, unless Common Core, but we're Nebraska and we're one of 2 states that doesn't believe in Common Core or adopt Common Core. But it is, for me, a universal picture that at least provides some foundational comparison on how students in my region compare with students elsewhere, and or with one another, because whether it's dual enrollment, every university is different. NACEP doesn't have a, history 1010 has the same syllabus and approved syllabus across. So for me, it's the one universal comparison that we have. But I like the opportunity for choice, and so for us, it currently works. But there is transferability and perceptions that are huge, I think, because we can offer the same course through our community college for $44, and it'll transfer to another course that we offer at the university that is $250. But we will still have families that would pay the $250 because it's that perception that this university credit is better than the community college credit. So I think there's a lot of perceptions that have to be overcome when you're looking at, I'll take the AP rather than the dual enrollment.
Well, I advise a lot of students, hundreds, and they ask me this question a lot because we have one high school that does AP, one that does IB, and then they both offer concurrent courses, or they come up to college and take it as a dual course. And it's kind of I always tell them it's kind of a gamble. I mean, if you test well and you think you can take your AP tests and get the score you need, go that route if that's what you want to do. But if you want more of a sure thing, and if you're a good worker and you can get, you'll pass the class and you don't have tests, if you have anxiety when you take tests, take the concurrent course because you have that in your pocket when you're done. Whereas the AP is a little bit of if you have a bad day, even if you're a good student, that's it. I mean, you lose a chance.
So I think we have to assume that, like, with all the variables school to school aside, that they're going to get a top-notch education in the class. We have to work from that assumption. So that being said, it seems like it's not really about knowledge as much as it's about the politic of being a student and what's going to benefit them the most, and how it's offered in different schools, and I think what Wesley's facing, where Denise is how much air can you fit in the balloon, and are we robbing from one to feed the other, and or not? Those issues are getting asked and answered. Is that real or is that perceived? And so those are kinds of some of the questions that are up too.
I think it goes back to,
I think it's I'm a college now called, CEP, composition liaison. I have 40 teachers that I supervise in 23 schools. And I'm not sure how many districts that is, 12, 13, 15, something. And my teachers are constantly saying, by the time I have met all of the Kansas State High School requirements and objectives, and by the time I've met all of the Common Core objectives, and by the time I have met all the AP objectives, by the time I've met all the CEP objectives, you know, it's just hard to teach a day of class. And that's,
Not to mention there's a school assembly.
well, and, you know, every now and then, it used to at least snow in Kansas, but, you know, whatever. Doesn't anymore. But those are the factors that, you know, I wanted to come to this because I'm a ridiculously empathetic person. I cry at everything. And, you know, these people just, my heart just bleeds when I hear about everything that they are having to incorporate into their curriculum to meet all of the requirements. Now, the teachers who are really, really, really good just figure out how to write their syllabus so that the AP assignment also fills the SLOs of my composition